matchup here where we have Keisuke Sato, who's playing Naya Winota, and has gone 5-1 in standard over the course of the weekend with a relatively miserable 1-5 in historic. So really standard carrying Sato here. Now, Tomas Pokorny on the other side, though, is kind of the opposite. Went 2-4 in standard here with this Sultai control deck. Doesn't look very happy with the choice or the situation as we come in. This is game number 2. First 2 matches were very lopsided. First match went to Sato. Second match went to Pokorny. 2-0 on both of those. But now it's Sato who's up a game here in our deciding match.
I want to highlight this was a good play from Sato. The natural play is to play Lotus Cobra on 2 to curve into Chariot on 3. Instead chose to play Ranger class, knowing that Tomas has multiple copies of Essence Scatter in his deck, and indeed played around Essence Scatter beautifully.
Wow. Very nice. Land number 3 here for Tomas. Looking down at a pair of Essence Scatters, another land, a Binding, a Lockmere Serpent, and an Extinction Event. Not
Expensive
great.
hand, and no green mana currently to play that Binding, so it'll be interesting to see what Sato chooses to play on turn 3 here. A lot of options, but either way, Tomas is a little bit behind here.
Is there any creature that Tomas wouldn't Essence Scatter here?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Unless you really think you're going to Extinction Event and get a lot of value from that. So right now you could Extinction Event away the Wolf token plus the Lotus Cobra on even. And just considering whether that's the play, because either way, Extinction Event only nabs one of the 2 creatures in play. So it's possible if you think you're going to be forced to tap out to do that. On the other hand, if you counter the Cobra, it makes it so Sato can't activate Ranger class this turn. And there's definitely some appeal there as well.
Yeah, it looks like a real tough decision here already for Tomas, as the Lotus Cobra is still on the stack and his rope is dwindling quickly, burning through the timeouts here on this early juncture. Really probably trying to think, okay, if I let you have this, I untap by Extinction Event, what can happen to me on the other end of that? And it actually gets pretty ugly if Tomas just has to cold tap out there. Interestingly, he doesn't have hard counters here. He has Essence Scatters. So there's also the chance that Keisuke just says, okay, I'll just play, Chariot or whatever, and you can't counter it anyway. He's going to use the Essence Scatter here at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that is likely to be the overall better play, since he's going to want to leave mana up to try to Essence Scatter Winota if that's next on the horizon. Field of Ruin, not actually that bad. You can activate and then get a Forest, and then use the Forest plus an untapped blue source to cast Essence Scatter and kind of fix your green sources here.
Okay.
You could also just cast Extinction Event, but that's a pretty low impact play. It'll just kill one of the 2 creatures there. So not a ton of options here. Oh, that's a Darkbore pathway. So he actually has green either way off of that. So he could play Binding of the Old Gods as well. Again, you're going to Binding one of the 2 creatures here and really get, be behind if your opponent has a Winota. The problem here for Tomas, and part of the reason I think control decks are really struggling in this format, if he leaves up Essence Scatter and Sato just plays the Isika's Chariot, we're going to run into the same problem we had on turn 2 when he played Ranger class. Your Essence Scatter can't counter their creature. Pretty brutal.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. Okay, green mana source down. Onto the battlefield.
But, if you don't play Binding, you're also not really making forward progress, and he just goes for a Yorion in hand. Wow.
Pays the Yorion tax and says, have at you. Keisuke Sato can do whatever he wants, and it's going to be an Isika's Chariot. And an attack for 3 down to 13 goes Pokorny. Tomas finds another land off the top of the library. He's getting closer to that Lockmere Serpent. Is he forced to Extinction Event here just to clean up the mess? Looks like it.
Yeah, I mean, it would make it so the chariot's much less of a threat, and then you also don't have any it makes the Winota less bad. But you can kind of rule out Winota. It would have been really hard for Sato to to not play Winota last turn, though Extinction Event still looks pretty good in this situation.
Clear away the wildlife here. It could just leave a selfless save here all by itself. That means at least on the board, no way to crew up the chariot.
Second chariot's going to be really good here, though.
Yeah. Wow, there's an ox as well, so heavy hitters into Sato's hand. And this is going to be tough for Tomas. He is just under assault here. And of course, he keeps the old chariot that doesn't have summoning sickness, so the two new cats can jump into the old chariot. And there's 5 damage down to 8 goes Tomas Pokorny, and he has to feel like he just doesn't have enough here. He's got, 10, 15, 19, 21 mana worth of cards in his hand right now. He can play one of them.
That's the Sultai control life. And now he could binding the chariot, but then get attacked for 7 down to 1. Maybe lethal if Sato activates Ranger class. You can play the Lockmere Serpent. Again, no play that Tomas can make does anything but deal with one attacker. Though I suppose if you leave up Lockmere Serpent and Sato goes for a chariot crew, that could work out pretty well. Maybe that's the highest payoff, and just kind of hope that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, that looks like the line of play here for Tomas as he passes the turn back over. That's Klothys off the top of the library, I believe. Wow. This is a nightmare for Tomas. And this really does kind of put a stamp on how Standard has gone for these two players. They have the same record coming in, but that's because of Historic and how that went. Keisuke Sato is on 5-1 in Standard and looks to be poised to pick up the victory here and put himself into that top 12 with the Standard deck that if he wins here, he would be 6-1 on the weekend. I guess you can even say 7-1 or 7-2 since these were all matches, but really impressive here from Sato in Standard.
And he made a great play here by not crewing the chariot, just attacking with all the creatures. And now Tomas is facing down basically the same squad, except now there's a Klothys that's just going to chip away at his life total, and it's indestructible. You can't binding it.
Yeah. The avalanche is just complete here for Sato. Tomas, what a great run, and put himself in a position here to play one match to try to make it into the top 12. He's going to have to be proud of that, but it looks like that's going to be it for him this time, down to 3 life. With Sato hitting from all types of directions. He's got a board state, he's got a chariot, and he even has Klothys as really the clock that sits there and in just 2 short turns would get the job done on its own.
Might not even last that long because we still have all these cats to deal with. Cats and dogs.
And this is pure desperation now. Lockmere Serpent's going to sacrifice a swamp, but that is going to be 1 life to go up to 4. Flunk?
Really needed something like Shadow's Verdict, though I don't even think he had enough black mana to cast it. Flunk, you can't even cast it alongside Binding because of the black mana issues. And I think that, that'll do it for Tomas here. Unless I don't really see a way for Sato not to go for the win here, because Klothys is gonna kick things off by dealing 2, and then you've got 3 2/2s against 1/7/7.
Tomas just has to play the desperate mode here.
Well, you say what you will. He's going to get max value out of his time on camera.
You know what? I like it. Milk that camera time, Tomas. You do what you got to do, bud. It's going to leave him with 1 blue mana. There's one of the sweepers that he probably could have used the turn prior, but in this case, these cards are not going to get the job done. But there also isn't a card available here for 1 blue mana that does anything. And now we're going to see Sato with a fully tapped out Tomas Pokorny sitting helpless on the other side, knock him down to 2, and all he has to do is send in with his creatures, and he can get the job done. He's going to add insult to injury here as well. Giant Killer just to make sure, and that's a good game from Tomas Pokorny as we see Keisuke Sato finish off his opponent here and make it into the Sunday top 12 play. What a victory for him. And seriously, we need to keep an eye on Sato, because while he hasn't been near the top of the standings for most of the week,